Okay, so thought I would do a little video today on why you're hearing so many different things out of the Trump administration regarding tariff policy. There's a lot of different reasons for that. One is that I will tell you, I am very much of the opinion that there is not a coherent, consistent strategy. I do not believe there is a plan. Other people disagree. If you're on the MAGA right, you think there's absolutely a brilliant plan. I hope you are correct. I mean that sincerely. It is good for America for me to be wrong about this. If you're on the Democrat left, you probably think there is a plan, but it is a diabolical kind of evil scheme. You give them more credit than I do. Let's put it that way. I don't think there's a plan at all. But either way, why not? Let's assume for a second that I'm correct for the sake of argument, and that there really isn't a plan. Well, why isn't there? Shouldn't there be a coherent, consistent strategy? The answer is because on trade, the Trump administration is divided amongst three camps. The first of the three camps I'm going to go over, and in my opinion, the weakest, and let me be clear, I'm going to have a lot of opinion and speculation. I know I try to stick to lots of fact in my videos, but this one is going to be more opinion heavy. So feel free to disagree as always in the comment section. The first faction is the Musk side of things. Musk is largely a free trader. He, frankly, is much more in line with how I see the world, is much more traditionally Republican, traditional conservative view of having free trade. He understands tariffs being needed with regard to China, although certainly not at these levels, because he sees China, in my opinion, rightfully as a national security threat. And he wants to see tariffs between the United States and Europe and other Western aligned countries basically go to zero, which we're actually not all that far away from, or at least we weren't before the tariff war started. But he wants to get it down to absolute zero and just have complete free trade. If you listen to his Joe Rogan interview, for instance, he talks a lot about comparative advantage, which I think he's absolutely right about. So he has a much more sophisticated, nuanced kind of view of these things. His camp, though, does not appear to have much purchase on this issue. His power within the administration is clearly weakening. You may remember in the opening weeks of the Trump administration, each cabinet member every couple of days had to do a public post thanking Elon for firing all of their employees. It was a humiliation ritual. It was really important. That was the level of power Elon had within the administration, that Trump's own cabinet secretaries regularly had to say, thank you for coming in and telling me how to run my department and firing all the people who are here to help me. That's over. You notice that has not happened in many weeks. Elon has seen a dramatic reduction in his power. I think the Wisconsin election debacle had a lot to do with that, but I digress. Second camp is the Bessent camp. He's our Secretary Treasury. He seems to be more of a middle-of-the-road guy. He likes some tariffs. He likes some protectionism. He doesn't want the hardcore, tariffs on everything approach that others in it do. He also does not want a hardcore free trade approach like what Elon does. So he's kind of in the middle. Right now, he appears to be the strongest of the three factions. He seems to be getting his way more and more lately. This is more of a recent development, in my opinion. He has only over the last few weeks become stronger within the administration because of the meltdown that happened in the markets after Liberation Day was announced. And he was able to convince Trump to roll back a number of these tariffs and as such kind of stabilize the market. Trump has also figured out that as long as Bessent is out interviewing with the news multiple times a day, every day, saying we are so close to trade deals are going great, we're talking with lots of countries, everything's awesome, deals, they're coming, everything's just going so good, it's holding the markets together. And that's why those statements are being released every single day for weeks, and oftentimes multiple times per day. It's usually 2 or 3 times a day, sometimes 4 times a day, he's putting out these statements. He will continue to do so because that is what's holding the stock and bond markets together, is the hope that Bessent is going to emerge as the victorious faction within the Trump administration. The third faction, which is the one that has, up until the last few weeks, been by far the strongest, is the Lutnick-Navarro faction. That is the faction that is for maximalist tariffs, maximalist protectionism. They view tariffs as a way to generate revenue for the federal government, even though those tariffs are paid by Americans and not by foreign companies. They don't care about that. They just want the revenue. And what they want to do is reindustrialize the United States and create millions of factory jobs by essentially saying, well, we can't import anything, so we have to build it all here. I have a lot of disagreements with that, but that's not really the point of this video. the they're this group is really it's really two guys. It's Lutnick and it's Navarro. Pete Navarro is Trump's manufacturing advisor. He's a really interesting cat. When he wrote a book called Death by China, they made a documentary out of it. Trump's son, Don Jr., is a huge fan of it. In his books, Navarro's books, he makes multiple references to an economist named Ron Vera, who he bases a lot of his work on. Ron Vera does not exist. He is made up by Navarro. It is an anagram. Ron Vera is an anagram of Pete Navarro's last name, Navarro. Our trade policy is being heavily dictated by Pete Navarro's imaginary friend. Now, right now, if you're hearing this and you're saying, Dims, you are full of it. There is no way that is true. That is too crazy. I don't believe it. I totally understand. When I first heard it, I thought this is crap. There's no way this is true. Started looking into it, and it turned out it was true. So feel free to fact check me. Go look it up. Find out who Ron Vera is. Find out if he actually exists and whether or not he really is just an anagram of Navarro. But if you are out there thinking, well, hold on, Dims, this is still just so crazy. Keep in mind, this is an administration that put tariffs on an island inhabited solely by penguins. We are living in crazy times. But these three factions are warring with each other right now. Navarro, by the way, does not want trade deals. He does not want them at all. He does not want foreign trade at all. He wants the United States to be what's called an autarky, an entirely economically self-sufficient nation. By the way, this theory has been tried. It was tried by Japan in the 1920s and 30s. It was tried by Germany in the same time period. It was tried by Italy. It was tried by the Soviet Union. It has failed every single time. It was tried by China, by the way. Mao was big into autarky. It has failed. It has failed disastrously. Usually millions of people starve to death. So this theory is a battle-tested theory in the 20th century, and the results are not bad. They are catastrophically bad. So I'm fairly worried that this guy has had so much influence and authority, especially considering that he spent time in jail a few years ago for contempt of Congress. But again, I digress. But so if you're wondering why you're hearing different messages, it's because there are three different factions that are vying for control of Trump's policy. Now, of course, right now you're asking the $64,000 question. Well, which one is Trump listening to? Well, what hour is it? Because that seems to change. Trump appears on his own to largely be in the Lutnick-Navarro camp, not completely, but largely. But Bessent keeps getting his ear because Bessent is the guy holding the stock and bond markets together for him. We all know Trump is extremely malleable and he's extremely susceptible to flattery and influence. And basically his policy is whoever most effectively flattered him most recently. And this is why his policy changes day to day and oftentimes hour to hour. Who did he talk to less? If you don't believe me, look at his tweets and how often he says, I just got off the phone with so-and-so, and so now I'm going to do blah, 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 blah. And then a few days later, there will be another tweet. I just got off the phone with so-and-so, and after this conversation, I'm going to go do blah. He literally tells us on a regular basis that based on how a conversation, the most recent conversation goes, he will change his policy on a dime. So I'm not making this up. This part is not speculation. Trump himself says this repeatedly. I mean, he does this over and over and over again. Now, which camp is going to remain dominant? My best guess, please note I use the word guess, is it will be the Bessent camp for the foreseeable future, because again, Bessent is the only one who can hold the markets together for Trump. When Lutnick gets his way, Lutnick and Navarro, the markets tank badly. And one thing the Trump administration has made very clear, they state repeatedly they are not watching markets. Their actions are the complete opposite. Their actions are that they are very sensitive to the markets. So I would say right now, my money's on the Bessent camp, but time will tell because Lord knows Trump changes his mind constantly. This is as close to a prediction as I'm going to get because predicting Donald Trump is a fool's errand. So I hope that helps you understand why you're getting so many mixed messages, and because there are three different factions and they're all fighting. And right now, Bessent is marginally winning, but who knows who will be winning tomorrow.